What's up, y'all? Let me get this recording started. Alright, I just wanted to get a live bat started for y'all. Since we had to cut the last one short because of ignorance, I will never, never do that shit again. I truly apologize to any of my followers for that utter waste of time. I need to get some better debate opponents on my lives and on my streams so I can give y'all some better content to look at, because that was just a complete waste of time trying to talk to a guy like that. But one point that I did want to get into in that debate was the current corruption that we're seeing out of this current administration. So I guess I'm gonna show y'all this video. I'm gonna give y'all my reaction to this video during this stream, and I got this little call-in number for anybody that wants to call in and debate me live. I got the line open, and yeah, any conservatives that want to come my way, come on and bring it. But yeah, I do ask, if you do call in, let's keep it civilized. I don't want yelling, screaming, trying to overtalk and make irrational points. Let's keep it on the point. Let's keep it to the facts and talk like adults, or at least try to.
This is the most flagrantly, staggeringly, obscenely corrupt thing that Trump has ever done in office. I have in my hand what purports to be the settlement of Trump's claims against the IRS for the disclosure of his tax agreements. That is a lie. That is a fraud on the American people. What Trump is doing here is creating an illegal fund of billions of dollars to pay out whomever he chooses, including and especially the traitors who breached the Capitol and tried to overturn the election to turn it over in Trump's favor. My blood is boiling. This is a new low for this administration. And this is an administration that has been rife with corruption and illegality, but this is probably the worst thing that they have done so far. Now,
and I agree. This is something that is blatant corruption. I mean, Donald Trump is using tax dollars to pretty much pay out, not himself directly, but all of his friends and his allies. Everybody from January 6th has the ability to get to these funds. And it's clear as day what he's using these funds for, our tax dollars, for that matter. So it's very concerning. And I don't think any Republican or conservatives can defend something like this. This hasn't been done by any other president from my knowledge.
Suffice to say, the president cannot take taxpayer money and give it to whomever he wants. But this unbelievably, ironically named anti-weaponization fund is exactly that. He's going to pay out his friends, his family, and domestic terrorists. And that's just who we know about. I'm frankly running out of adjectives. This is theft. This is corruption. This is treason. If he gets away with this, there are simply no more limits, at least with respect to what Trump can do with taxpayer money. If he can pay out billions with a B to his cronies without any real oversight, I don't know, are we done as a country? At best, this is Orban-esque. But this is frankly verging into Putin territory. And of course, the corruption cherry on top of the corruption sundae is that Trump is personally ending and forbaying all audits and suits into his businesses and his family's finances. Oh
yeah, and that's another thing I didn't really get a chance to talk about. A part of this agreement, apparently, is that there can't be any future audits. I mean, there can't be any future audits into the Trump family, like anybody that's in the Trump family. They can't be audited for any reason. That's wild to me. I don't know how anybody else feels about that, but that seems like just the entire family is above the law at this point. Now, feel how you want to feel about Biden and his pardons or whatever you want to call them, but this is like a whole nother level of corruption when it comes to finances and everything else. It's crazy.
Oh, and the government is issuing him an apology as well. Wonderful. Now, we're talking about this as if it is a legal settlement to the claims that he had against the government that he has control over. But it is not. This is not a settlement. This has about as much to do with a legal settlement as a shoehorn has to do with a French horn. I'm reluctant to even talk about the legalities or the legal aspects of this because there's nothing legal about this. There was no process here. There was no judicial review. There was no decision.
Oh, what's up, bro?
by a fact finder or a jury. This is simply Trump taking power and paying it out to whomever he wants to. That being said, the fig leaf that they are using to cover up their own manifest corruption and illegality is that this was related to a demand that Trump had for $10 billion related to the 2020 disclosure of his tax returns by a contractor at the IRS. Now, we are in the process of writing and filming a video that goes into much more detail about the legal aspects and really more relevant here, the illegal aspects of what's happening. That's going to come out in a few days. But suffice to say, Trump's suit was unbelievably bogus. Again, you can sue anyone for anything and claim that you're entitled to however much money you want, but in that case, in the best of circumstances, a disclosure of those kind of tax returns would be limited to $1,000 per disclosure, and the statute of limitations is 2 years, which has long since elapsed. Oh,
yeah, and that's the whole point, that Trump wasn't going to win this lawsuit, that he was going to sue. Well, he was suing the IRS and he wasn't going to win this lawsuit, but he still got a payout because he's on both sides of this situation. He's pretty much over the IRS at this point, and he's over the, he's the person suing the IRS, so he's paying himself. This is what people mean when they say that Trump is paying himself in this situation, and that's what he's doing. Well, he's not really even directly taking the money, but he's directing the money exactly where it needs to go. To all his allies, to all the people that fought for him, especially around that January 6th situation, and yeah, all those fake electors that went to Washington, all that good stuff. So yeah.
Oh, and by the way, the president who was in control of the IRS at the time that those tax returns were disclosed was President Trump himself. Oh, and the irony here is that yes, while leaking tax returns is illegal, the only reason the American people didn't already have Trump's tax returns is that he refused to turn them over like every single other presidential candidate does as a matter of course when they run for president. And of course, which he pledged to eventually release and never did. But he was probably withholding them because he was looking down the barrel of hundreds of millions of dollars of fines related to his tax crimes, including double dipping.
You, just you, building your app on base 44.
Crimes which he has now given himself immunity. And those crimes and the tax crimes of his family members and businesses were not even part of his suit against the IRS. He's just throwing them in because why not? The New York Times is reporting that the IRS actually issued a 20-page report on how bogus this suit was. This suit was a joke, and frankly, on this channel, we treated it as such because it was so stupid and so brazen. And frankly, we thought the worst that was going to come from it was that it was just going to be tossed out of court and it was going to waste taxpayer resources. My God, how wrong we were. But what became legitimately interesting is that the judge in that case realized that there was a problem. Trump was not only the plaintiff in this case, but also the defendant. He controlled the IRS and the Department of Justice. And so the judge appointed what are called amici to discuss whether there was something called a case in controversy. You can't just sue yourself. You can't collude with a friend to sue over something and get a payout when there's no real controversy and there's no adversity. And
well, you can't really do it until Trump just did it. I mean, he just did it right in front of the American people. He took the tax dollars and he's pretty much he's making it into a slush fund and, putting it directly towards the, Republican donors and all the people that supported him during January 6th. It's clear as day. I don't know why everybody's contesting this fact, especially a lot of MAGA Republicans out there. They're loving the fact that he's pretty much, setting up reparations for these people. And there's a bunch of people defending this, and it's very concerning, especially when you're talking about the people that actually attack the actual function of our democracy, the certification of the election. That's very important. I mean, that's, just a very important step in, making Joe Biden the president at that point in time. And these people were sent to attack the very building that we were doing that in. I don't know anybody else's definition of treason, but that's pretty close.
And the judge correctly realized that, and because the Trump Department of Justice couldn't be trusted to actually defend that suit, they appointed an amici to discuss that particular issue. Oh, and by the way, the entire lodestone of right-wing judicial theory right now rests on what's called the unitary executive theory, which purports that there is no distinction between the president and anyone in the executive branch, which even by that particular theory meant that Trump was suing himself and absolutely could not have recovered from the public coffers from his bogus BS case. But the fact that Trump sued himself as the sitting president is a scandal in and of itself. The fact that the interim head of the Department of Justice, Todd Blanche, is Trump's personal lawyer who should have been conflicted out of that position, that is a scandal. The fact that we even got to this point alone shows us how low the bar has gotten. Trump's lawsuit had about as much legal basis as your average sovereign citizen nonsense who claims that they can drive a car without a license or isn't required to pay taxes. As you can tell, I'm angry. And what's worse is that right-wing news sources are simply ignoring this because it is absolutely indefensible. But honestly, I don't think people understand how bad this really is. This settlement creates a slush fund that will be controlled by a 5-member board, which of course is appointed by Trump. He can add or remove members as he sees fit. There will effectively be no oversight whatsoever. And by the terms of this settlement, they can basically choose to hand out money to whomever they want under whatever criteria they want. And you can bet that they will pay out whoever Trump wants. There are no real guardrails here. This is pure patronage for a king. The language—
That's crazy. I mean, what he's saying is that essentially Trump can pay whoever he wants, and he can call the shots on it. I mean, he decides who's making the decisions here. So yeah, I mean, it pretty much just comes down to Trump and what he wants the money, who he wants the money being sent to. That's crazy.
Which allows the board to pay whoever they want. They can pay Trump if he wants to, under any criteria. But make no mistake, President Trump is raping the public treasury for his own gratification. And this slush fund agreement—
Jeff Poston, if I'm wrong, go ahead and give me a call in. My call in number, if you need it, I can send it to you. If you think I'm wrong about anything I'm saying.
it's a troll. It purports to claim that Trump is not being paid out. But if you give someone an account with billions of dollars in it and they have control as to how it's paid, even if that account isn't in their name, if they have sole control over it, it's their money. And that's exactly what they've done here. Now, we don't know exactly who will be compensated. I mean, it's not even compensation. Bribed? But we do know for sure that it will include some or all of the January 6ers, the terrorists who tried to overthrow the government. Of course, they were pardoned, and that is an unfathomable scandal alone, but effectively what this committee is going to do is they are going to pay out the people who tried to overthrow the government to put Trump in power. These are convicted criminals. The fact that they were later pardoned by Trump doesn't change the fact that these are treasonous pieces of excrement who tried to stab our democracy in its heart. Trump has already paid out millions of dollars to traitors like Michael Flynn, who filed another bogus lawsuit. But this doesn't even require people to file a lawsuit. You can bet that some or all of the people who invaded the Capitol on January 6th are going to get massive paydays. Now, in a press release, Todd Blanche said that the settlement fund was going to include $1.776 billion to pay out whomever this committee wants. And of course, everyone in the media breathlessly reported that as the number, approximately.
Yeah, I set up a little call-in system just in case if any, people want to call in a debate in the middle of a stream or something like that. I have a couple of haters out there from my last few debates, so they haven't really called in or anything, though. It's kind of weird.
Approximately $1.8 billion with a B dollars to convicted criminals, among other people that Trump wants to give patronage to. But here's the thing. Nowhere in this settlement does it mention that dollar amount. And the particular fund that they're pulling from, one of the DOJ's settlement funds, is an ongoing appropriation, but there's not necessarily a limit. And certainly there is no limit in this settlement agreement that limits them to $1.8 billion. And like I said, the terms are so ambiguous that they can pay out whoever they want. $1 billion for Don Jr.? Sure, he was targeted by lawfare. $500 million for election tampering Tina Peters? Great. She was pardoned. $10 billion for the Republican National Convention? Of course. $1 billion for rebuilding Trump Tower? Why not? Of course, Obama did something that requires remuneration. $800 million for Russian hackers? Absolutely. Step right up and get the money. Just make up a claim that's...
Let's say you guys were not complaining when Obama gave 1.7 to Iran. That was unfrozen assets, and that was a part of the Iran nuclear deal. That was one of the reasons why Iran wasn't on its way to a nuclear weapon at that point in time. But we can debate that. Just call in. I got the number up right there. You're free to do it.
Says you were targeted by some past administration. There is absolutely no real criteria that is enforceable, and it's just going to be whatever Trump wants and whomever Trump wants to give money to. He's going to pay some of the people who invaded the Capitol and tried to turn the election in his favor, and he might be prepaying the next people. He could say, hey, as long as you use this money to go buy a bunch of AR-15s and be in Washington next January 6th, great, go.
Yeah, and this is the dangerous part of what Trump is doing, is paying off some of the people that actually attacked police officers, and some of the officers that was at the Capitol that day. They came out injured and stuff like that. And all these people that broke the windows, attacked police officers, they're getting paid off. They got a pardon. They have no reason not to do this again. You get what I'm saying? This is very dangerous on, just the face of it. You get what I'm saying? So not only did they just get off, legally, but they're getting paid because they were a part of that. That's crazy.
Go out and do it. As if pardoning the people who committed crimes for Trump's benefit weren't bad enough. Now he's...
And you're right. Officers are suing to stop this slush fund. The difficult part about this is that Donald Trump set this slush fund up in a way that is very difficult to stop this, because it's already been agreed to by the IRS, and he's in control of the IRS. So I hope it works, but I doubt it.
Going to pay people to do it in the future. I simply do not have words for this. These people are brown shirts. They are Nazis. They are Trump's personal Praetorian Guard, and now they get taxpayer funding. Congratulations. And even if it were limited just to $1.8 billion, that is a staggering amount of money. With that, you could fund the Corporation for Public Broadcasting and Voice of America, and still have enough left over to fully fund the National Endowment for the Arts. I think it's hard for lay people to grasp just how much money a single $1 billion, let alone 1.8 billion, let alone an unlimited amount of money that is not defined in the settlement agreement. And this...
Yeah, and this is what I'm saying, like $1.7 billion, what they're putting up right now, almost 1.8. This is a lot of money that could go to people that actually need it, or people that actually suffered from this government, like the people that are still alive that suffered under Jim Crow, the people that suffered from the Tuskegee experiments and all these things. Like, it's clear as day that Trump doesn't really care about, doing the right thing morally. He's more about paying off the people that supported him and some of the shady stuff that he was involved in, especially around January 6th.
was always the plan. They have been discussing a payout for the January 6ers for over a year. They just happen to use this as a vehicle for maximum secrecy and a fig leaf of a legal process. Under the terms of this agreement, all of this will be confidential. There will be no accountability to the American people. We will not know who gets this money if this is allowed to go through. We won't know how much money they get. At most, there will be a report given to Todd Blanche as the acting head of the Department of Justice, but he is not bound, nor do I ever expect that he would release any of those reports in the future. And of course, this whole commission expires right before the next president takes power. I mean, I probably don't need to tell you that all of this is flagrantly illegal. The general counsel for the US Treasury, who was appointed by Trump and confirmed by a Republican Senate, resigned as a result of this incredible document of corruption. But yes, I will make the obvious point. This is illegal. This kind of action would require an appropriation from Congress, which it obviously does not have. The Anti-Deficiency Act, which we've talked about a lot, and which Trump has violated uncounted number of times, makes...
We got a lot of warriors in the chat, but nobody calling in. Somebody call in.
It's a felony to dole out money that has not been appropriated by Congress. And no, I don't believe that the appropriation of the Department of Justice covers what they are trying to do with this document. But let me put this on record to anyone who might be working in the government, who might be tempted to follow through with this settlement. Providing any funds as a result of this settlement is a felony, and every single person involved in the distribution of those funds can and should go to jail as a result. And in fact, on behalf of the American people, I think we need to demand of the next Congress that should be a pledge of every single member of Congress, that they will put anyone in the executive branch who had a hand in this, that they go to jail. This is honestly 10 times worse than Watergate. French aristocrats found their necks in a
It
guillotine
really
for
is.
far less than.
Like it's 10 times worse than Watergate. Like it really is. It's crazy. But yeah, all y'all keyboard warriors in the chat, go ahead and give me a call. Y'all seem so brave. Let's talk it out. Let's talk it out.
A tremendous amount of frustration when it comes to what they view as the basic necessities of life, and young men in particular, those who powered Donald Trump to victory back in 2024, well, they're feeling a lot of regret over their vote choice. So what are we talking about here? Well, let's talk about what is right at the bottom. If you were building out the house in terms of the American dream, it is literally the ability to buy a home.
Still waiting on y'all to call in. I got the number up there. It's not hard. I know y'all got phones that work.
And young people, well, there's not a lot of hope for them when it comes to buying a home, and these numbers have changed tremendously. Look at this. Okay, age 18 to 34, that is adults under the age of 35, will buy a home in the next 5 years. You go back to 2016, 2018, Gallup surveys, look at that. The majority, 53%, said they would buy a home in the next 5 years, those who didn't already own one. That number has fallen through the floor. Look at this now in 2025, 2026, just 29%, just 29%. That is nearly half the level, dropped by nearly half in just under a decade's time. No wonder young people are feeling so much frustration. Now, of course, if you're building out that home, right, in terms of what young people want, what Americans want in order to fulfill the American dream, well, it's not just buying a home, it's a good job. You go, leave the home, you have a good job. But young people at this point don't believe it's a good time to actually find a job. Take a look here, age 15 to 34. Say it's a good time to find a job. Now that percentage is just 43%, less than half.
Long distance charges, it's 2026. Come on now. I know y'all ain't using that for an excuse. Long distance charges? Really? Yeah.
Less than half of young people say it's a good time to find a job. And look at this trend line. This trend line is going completely in the wrong direction. 4 years ago, it was 75%. Look at that. That's a drop of over 30 points in just 4 years' time. In 2019, back when Donald Trump was at the end of his first term in office, it was 77%. That's a drop of, what is that? That's a drop of 34 percentage points from where Donald Trump.
Yeah, so young people are pretty much falling out with Trump too. Young people are falling off the Trump train. I know a lot of MAGA conservatives are also feeling it at the polls. They're getting real nervous. That's why they're out here gerrymandering the southern states. But I know a lot of people don't want to admit that. Take a look at chat, see what y'all talking about. Okay, prove that I'm intellectually dishonest. We live right now. Prove it. Who is that? Adrian Wilkinson? Yeah. Best way to do it is prove it. Yeah, I ain't gonna be on here too much longer. I was just trying to see if some of these MAGA Republicans would back up some of the mess that they talking online. Since I ain't finna fool with that Euro and travel dude. All he does is yell and scream half of the time he's on live, and it's ridiculous. It's like actually arguing against a brick wall because he doesn't really stick to the points. He doesn't really actually address the points that's being made, and it's like, it's ridiculous. Don't want to really fool with nothing like that.
All the folk who follow Trump are not neo-fascists, but they're conservative, and they're based, and it's motivated by one fundamental fact. They have a profound hatred of the professional managerial class that they see as the winners of corporate globalization, and they associate that with black people, with Jews, with gay brothers, lesbian sisters, trans, and it used to be Catholics, but I ran into David Duke down there, and he's now head of one of the Klan groups. That's American, upward mobility American style. They have a Catholic now running the Klan, and the Klan began by hating Catholics, Jews, and black folk. And we're going to see more of that as well. You're going to see more Jewish folks supporting the neo-fascists. You're going to see more black folks supporting the neo-fascists. That's where we are now. All the folk who follow Trump are not neo-fascists, but they're conservative, and they're based. And
there's a lot of folks out here like that. Yeah, I ain't gonna stick around too much longer. Appreciate it. Who is that? Me. Thank you for the subscription.
Really sick of this like bashing of the billionaires, because see this when you tax
dollars a year as individual earners and below that. I think there's a lot of Americans who feel like, well, I'm among those who are struggling, but especially in major cities, you're making a little more than that. You're making closer to six figures, and you may think that you're struggling to get ahead in the state of this inflationary economy and you need relief. This would not give you relief. I mean, I'm for completely revamping the entire tax code, and I think the 1% is way too broadly defined, but there's way.
All right, appreciate you, Upside Down. Said the same thing about what on the White Boy channel. Biden is a gigantic, huge point. I would say Biden has some corruption going on in his administration. I will acknowledge that. But I will also say that Trump is way more corrupt than Biden ever was.
Too many carve-outs for the very top, and I think that this is an animating issue. I think in this populist moment on the right, there is a moment that you could have future politicians, if a J.D. Vance ends up running, that lean a little more into the taxing the billionaires, which has never been a Republican position previously, but I think there is an appetite for the wealthiest to contribute more.
I want to play another clip from Bezos, that he was making the case that he pays billions of dollars in taxes, and that that raising those wouldn't necessarily help a teacher in Queens. This is what he said.
We heard this crybaby do this.
These people sometimes say that I don't pay taxes. That's not true. I pay billions of dollars in taxes, and it's a perfect. Again, if people want me to pay more billions, right, then let's have that debate. But don't pretend, that's going to solve the problem. You could double the.
It could solve a lot of problems. Let's not act like, if these billionaires and these trillion-dollar companies actually paid their fair share of, tax dollars and paid decent amount of tax dollars compared to their actual income, that it wouldn't fix a lot of issues around this country, and that we actually used our tax dollars that we did accumulate as a country and use it correctly. I think, we spend way too much on the military complex. I think we spend way too much sending our stuff to other countries like, just questionable countries like Israel, or, dictatorships like Bahrain, or any country like that. I think we shouldn't have sent weapons to Afghanistan to uplift that military structure just for the Taliban to take over. It's, crazy.
Taxes I pay, and it's not going to help that teacher in Queens. I promise you. So you can't connect those two things, not logically.
Nah, I can't read that. Big city, whatever your name is, Biden did have some corruption going on. I mean, it's some small level corruption. It's some hearsay, what the Republicans say as far as, his connections to Ukraine and the Burisma situation. If you want to call that corruption, call it that. But you can't sit there and ignore everything that's surrounding Trump and all of his situation between his sons and Jared Kushner in the Middle East. He has all types of deals and situations going on with the UAE and Saudi Arabia. And that's in the billions of dollars. We're with Biden, we're talking about millions of dollars, but with Trump, we're talking about billions, and we don't even know what's going on with his whole crypto situation that he started literally 4 days before he was inaugurated.
Why
New York
collect?
City Mayor
Why collect any tax then? What the hell is he talking about?
Zoran Mamdani tweeted after that. He said, "I know a few teachers in Queens who would beg to differ." Emily, what were you going to say?
First of all, I'm surprised Mamdani wasn't patting him on the back with his initial statement. I thought every single socialist or communist-leaning person would applaud Jeff Bezos for what he was saying. But I'm just really, really sick of this bashing of the billionaires, because the billionaires actually are the ones contributing the most to society. Let's talk about how many. Oh yeah, I feel so bad for them. Let's talk about how many jobs Amazon has created. Let's talk about how many people are paying their bills because of Amazon. How many people have benefited from the creation of the jobs in that. So I'm just really against this whole oh my God, the capitalists are the bad guys. In terms of his motivation, I think that's the question. I wasn't even thinking about a political run, but that's starting to make the most sense. And then theoretically, he's not necessarily wrong. If you are not taxing them, they're probably spending more money into the economy, and that wealth is spreading on its own.
All right, can we agree that the whole trickle down stuff was just a complete lie? And it didn't work at all. Trickle down doesn't work. Can we all agree with that? All the capitalist people out there that, just is 100% with capitalism and that whole model. Can we at least agree that trickle down doesn't work? Chat, can we do that? No? Maybe?
Organically. However, you're right. This is not the traditional Republican thinking, and the handouts and the free money does not solve the problem.
Hold up. Wait a minute. Let's put some funk in it. Professor Poppy, he's about to go in right now. Let me get situated here. I love this subject. Yes, the jaws of life. It's a handout when it's everyday people, but not when it's billionaires. It's not a handout there, right? You heard Isaiah say Amazon paid 1.4%. They're paying a lower, guys, these billionaires on top of that are paying a lower tax rate than all of us. How hard is it to understand that is the handout? Lockjaw. How do you not see this? And as far as Amazon, guys, ready for this? Sure, Amazon creates a shit ton of jobs, but that's because they ate up all other small businesses. Ask your parents how America used to look. There's a reason we don't have small mom and pop stores, small hardware, small department stores. None of these exist anymore. They do, but just a lot less. Companies like Amazon and Walmart, and it's not just only them, has devoured small businesses. And you know what else changed with that? The quality of those jobs. And those pay is so much shittier now, or they don't keep up with the standard cost of living. No respect, a lot more demeaning.
Let me read this chat. What y'all got going on? 158 warehouse fires so far this year. True. Biden turned his classified documents over. Trump refused to. True. Biden did, work with the authorities when they did find classified documents at his house. At least he did work with them. Trump refused to work with them for months. So yeah, that was a thing. No Supreme Court stated that if you're in the middle of doing presidential duties, you can't be prosecuted because Democrats have already proven they will. That was more around the whole, what situation was that around that you can't be prosecuted while in the White House? I know that was when Trump was in the White House, but I forgot which situation that was involved in. Donald Harris was a British citizen who came from British Jamaica in 1961, was still a British citizen in 1964. I don't know how that applies. Oh, you're talking about Kamala Harris. She is a U.S. citizen. I don't know why there's a need to, every time there's somebody that's brown skinned running for president, there's rumors out there that they're not a U.S. citizen. That's weird.
A lot of the times, and slowly being automated to hell. And and these companies, guys, they have monopolies over towns all over America. You can't apply to as many businesses as you once could because again, Amazon and Walmart, like companies, have swallowed these businesses up. Not only that, but not only is it lower quality jobs, but the lower paying jobs, but the taxes received from the business of Amazon and Walmart is almost non-existent. You heard them say 1.4%. Like, when before these towns and cities were getting some taxes, right, from all these small businesses.
Yeah.
You know, small business taxes. Same with the federal government.
Yeah, and that's why you don't see a mom and pop business anymore. A mom and pop business can't compete with a freaking Walmart. And the whole point, and the point behind this is that cities are also suffering because Walmart is paying so low taxes that mom and pop business was at the very least paying a decent amount of taxes going back into the city. There was, you know, just a more of a stake into the community. Walmart doesn't necessarily have a stake into every community that they have a store in. And there's the disconnect that we currently see today.
But we create all these incentives because we're at the needs of these billionaires that run these massive companies. And you know what this causes? This. Or this way. Like, and there's probably no reversing this.
Let me see this top 1%. Yeah, that's crazy. The income gains since the 1980s. At least we were close in the 1980s. Then things kind of got crazy, and that's for a reason. That's called capitalism right there. That's called unchecked capitalism. And it's crazy because after 2005 it got, you know, at least a little closer, but not so much.
We allow them to do this already. But we can try and fix things going forward. And Republicans out there, pull yourself up, like you got to, guys like to say, pull yourself up from your fake alpha male bootstraps and fight back against these billionaire pricks. Or you can keep yelling.
Oh yeah, I can't see your name, but Trump did not testify against Epstein. He did not turn Epstein in. I don't, you know, want to push that type of lie in my chat, but yeah, he did nothing to help get Epstein arrested. As a matter of fact, he ended up hiring the same attorney that gave Epstein his sweetheart deal the first time. He ended up working for the government because Trump hired him. The same attorney that gave Epstein that sweetheart deal the first time. So I don't know how you turn somebody in or testify against them, then, you know, help out the person that helped out the other person.
Yelling DEI and woke and trans people over and over and hope that fixes your life and the future for your kids. Effing idiots.
Ever since the Republicans cut the top corporate tax rate, we know the private sector investment to build new manufacturing facilities has decreased. So it hasn't spurred an increase in investment into the economy. We've seen that across the board, and that's from Fred data.
No, I'm talking more of like the lower 50% who, where if they had extra money, they'd probably go to the grocery store and spend it. They would probably be spending that money because they needed it.
Well, let's do some math here. So if you were to get rid of if you were to get rid of Amazon's $17 billion worth of tax breaks, right, and you were to double it, as Bezos were to say, that'd be enough to cover universal child care for every single child in this country.
Okay.
So are you saying that for that grant or that person that lives in Queens, the universal child care so that they don't have to pay the cost of rent per kid in America would not help that person out?
No, can we talk about what's...
I mean, that's pro-life. It ain't nothing pro-life like paying for universal child care for every child in this country. Like, if you actually care about, you know, children and being pro-life and forcing people to have babies, make it easy for people to have babies. I mean, that should be easy. I mean, and the easy way to do that is to tax the rich at a higher percentage.
It's realistically going to happen. I don't know how Governor Hochul doesn't see this. When you tax the rich leave. They will go to Puerto Rico. They are going to, I understand.
I'll talk about this at the end, but they do not leave when their taxes go up. They are, in fact, the only group of people that don't leave when costs or taxes go up.
Dan, nationwide or statewide, it doesn't make a difference. If the rich
it is a
people are going to
difference.
suffer
and
for being
Bezos is
rich,
very clearly talking
they're going
about
to
personal
leave,
tax,
and they'll
not
bring their money
corporate
elsewhere.
taxes. Right. Alyssa, you talked about the populism that we are seeing on the right. There's all, and it's kind of where the circle meets, right, with both sides of the aisle, because you have somebody like Elizabeth Warren, and do you start to see J.D. Vance and others kind of come together on this issue? It is interesting.
Yeah. I think the bigger issue here is that you have increased unease in society, especially amongst the lower middle classes, about the future of work and the future of their place in a society where technology is changing so fast, and AI, to the sense that what you hear from great industrialists of the time is, don't worry, you don't have to do anything. And we'll give you an income, or we'll cut your taxes, and just sit back and let us handle this. And everything's going to be fine because the technology is going to solve all your problems. And I think that's not
a reality. And to pretend like, I don't think anybody should trust these tech giants and these tech bros when they say that AI is going to solve all the world's problems, and when AI reaches its peak or whatever they want it to reach, that it's going to be some type of easy fix for all of humanity's problems. It's not. It's really, first of all, it's taking up all of our fresh water. We already know this. We already understand this. Until we find a way for AI to somehow get cool with salt water or start using ocean water, I don't think that we're going to have any type of equilibrium with AI in these data centers. I don't think we're going to reach any type of. Eventually, we're going to reach a breaking point if it continues to hit our freshwater supplies like the way it is. It's not going to be feasible at all. But my problem with these tech bros is that they're pretending and telling people and putting money behind the fact that they believe that AI is going to be fixing all of humanity's problems, which it won't be. I don't want people to believe that mess, because that's not going to be the case. Is it going to be a tool? You can use it as a tool, use it. I mean, that's fine. By all means. But all I'm saying is that don't fall for this trick as if AI is going to solve all these issues. If anything, AI is going to take people's jobs. People are going to, be jobless because of this AI. Especially people in call centers, especially people that, do some of the most mundane jobs. I ain't saying call centers are mundane, but, some of the more customer service jobs, they're going to be taken up first. That's just the way it's going to be. And here, people are going to have to, spread into different skills. That's what we saw, when the car came around, and the people that worked on the horses, did the horseshoes and the carriages, they just had to either fall out or get left behind. Learn a new skill or get left behind. That's the situation that we currently live in this capitalistic society. And unless we find some type of social program to help people that will get left behind in this AI revolution, because there will be people that are left behind in this revolution, in this AI revolution. And we need some type of program to make sure that these people do not at least have an opportunity to learn a new skill, because something's got to give.
Ignores a lot of discontent, especially amongst young people on both the left and the right, about wanting to have a purpose in work that is not connected to just getting.
Let me read this chat, what y'all got going on. Let's go back on. Yeah. Let me see if I can get to this YouTube chat. I can't see everything. Yeah, everybody that's talking crap down in the chat, you can always give me a call. Don't just be a keyboard warrior. who that is. What up, Red Don? George Harris, I don't know what type of point you're trying to prove here, but it's not really proving anything.
By and wanting to have a place in a technologically AI-driven society where they can be creative and productive and rise in their careers and in their dignity, rather than just, you know, have billionaires tell them, don't worry, we're going to cut your taxes and then maybe we'll give you some money and you can just paint or whatever. And that's the bigger societal issue, rather than how much 3% of this or that on any given day.
Yeah, I mean, I think...
What up?
Cabbage Patch Josh Rogan is right about everything he said there. But I want to talk about a little bit more about Amazon and companies like this. Tesla paid, I think it was 0% in 2024. And again, it's not just the billionaires, it's the companies that they run. And they're able to pay these low amount of taxes. Understand, it's because they get these crazy tax incentives. You may ask, why would these cities and towns give them this? Because they have gotten so huge. Cities are forced to bend to them in order to create jobs. Like, you see what the billionaires have done? And that's just a small little segment I'm talking about. Forget about politics. Like, guys, this is just one facet of so many facets of how they are destroying societies and communities. Vultures is what I call them. And even now, guys, when all the devouring they have done, they cry about a tiny tax increase to finally claw back some of the vicious robbery that has been done to the American people. And they cry about these little things, 1-2%, because they know it's going to work and they know what's coming later. And to think you still have Republicans out here, guys, saying, oh, you're just jealous, Bobby. You're just jealous. You are not rich. You just hate them. Literally a fifth grader's argument. Like, in fact, even a fifth grade, the teacher would tell you, this is not an argument. You aren't making a real argument. You're just crying like an idiot. Give me a real argument other than you mean you're jealous or you hurt their feelings or they will leave. By that logic, guys, let's beg more. Be even nicer to billionaires, right? By that logic, why don't we bow our heads in the presence of the 1%ers, right? Let's bring out the red carpet and throw flowers whenever they are around, right? By their logic, wouldn't this be even better for America? They've created so many jobs. Let's give them money, right? Let's give them negative tax. Let's all chip in to give them money.
There is a look. This is already a political issue, but this just seems to get bigger and bigger and bigger. And as we look at the midterms,
by default, corporations pay taxes either through employee wages, building expenses, power. The list goes on. That's a cop out, and nobody because if you want to say that they pay taxes through employee wages, then how do employees pay taxes? That's a cop out. I don't want to hear that. Like that's including the tax that's on the employee and including that with the business tax. They need to pay more taxes, point blank, period. I don't want to hear anything else outside of that. Like, if you're going to keep us in this capitalistic society, everybody needs to pay their fair share, including corporations.
and you look to 2028, you can't help but think somebody needs to come up with a plan.
I think you are going to see politicians in 2028 who are running, talking about tackling AI, putting some kind of guardrails on it, some kind of pauses. That polls extremely well because, to Josh's point, there are these headwinds economically that are bigger than any political party, any candidate or current politician. The fact that the purchasing power of the U.S. dollar is 3 times less than it was in 1980, but the cost of everything is even higher. Like, people are working harder than ever and having a harder time getting ahead. People are going to be begging politicians to offer real big visionary plans, and I think there's a lane for people who are willing to do that. It's going to have to be bigger than, like, we're tweaking the corporate tax rate here and we're, making it a little easier to e-file or whatever.
And I think we're seeing it already, because on both sides of the aisle, I see people are increasingly going against AI, and people are like, well, I don't want it replacing my job. And then I try to play devil's advocate because I was speaking to somebody much older than me about this, and they're like, well, that's what they thought when cars came out, and that's what they thought when this innovation happened, but then more jobs are created elsewhere, and I try to be optimistic about it, but it's getting out of hand.
And man, I always said it, I've been thinking about all that, especially, you know, just the situation around crypto. Like Trump jumped on that real quick. That's why I want to talk about this corruption stuff, because Trump built that crypto company 4 days before his inauguration, and immediately after, all of a sudden, the Saudis have 49% have a 49% stake in this coin. That's insane to me. I don't know how else you define corruption, but that's a big definition of corruption. I mean, for me it is, at least.
Managing those traditions can mean less suffering for millions of Americans, and we're not managing them right now because the technology is outpacing the policy and the regulation. Look what happened at the White House this week.
Would I agree about government seizing control of big corporations and nationalizing it? Would I personally agree with something like that? No. Nah. That would leave an opportunity for something that would create another opportunity for some type of authoritarian state. I would have to have some type of guarantees before I would even think about something like that. Some type of guarantees to assure that, you know, the person or the people that would be in power in that type of situation, vis-a-vis government in that situation, would not also be some type of corrupt people. And I have, you know, yet to hear anything about those types of guarantees. So I wouldn't want, like, government forcibly taking property or anything like that, or seizing anything.
They were about to roll out an executive order to have a voluntary review of AI models. So, because it's a huge national security threat to throw these AI models out into the wild. Nobody knows what they do, much less export them. And they canceled it. It was supposed to be on Thursday, and they canceled it at the last minute because the Silicon Valley tech titans said no, thank you. You know, so this is where we are. We're failing to bring people along in this technological journey in a way that enables them to feel like they have a purpose in this brave new world.
It is. I was just going to say, it is a brave new world indeed. All right, I know that was good.
A whole new world, a dazzling pace I never knew.
It said it would be worker shared. In a situation where it would be worker shared, you're talking about more of a socialist type situation, a purely socialist type of economic situation. And even then, there would still have to be some type of governmental structure propping that type of situation up, right? That's a simple question to a very complex. It would be a very complex answer. Would I prefer a socialist financial system over a capitalist financial system? You know, publicly, I've been for more of a mixed system myself, but I've been leaning more and more towards, you know, the former lately.
Aladdin reference? Never mind. Guys, and this AI thing, I think people are more worried about AI than other techs because it's directly meant to create efficiencies. It's literally meant to automate their jobs. That's why it's pretty direct, right? So they have the right to be worried about that. I'm suspicious about all of it. I haven't seen them produce a product yet that is going to replace a bunch of humans, but whatever. And guys, you see what I mean by Republicans and foundationally how weak-minded these people are? Only a weak person will be in this kind of servitude to the super rich, for anyone at that. It's just like it's just not a great position to be in. Like just a weak ass argument. We are mean to them, they will leave. If we're mean to them, they're gonna. If we tax them 1 or 2%, they're gonna leave.
No,
and then what will we do without our sugar daddies?
That's a big myth that a lot of people like to put out there. That if we tax the rich, they're going to leave, and nah. The American economy, access to the American economy is too valuable for a lot of these businesses, so they're not going to leave no matter what. So that's a big misnomer that they like to put out there. Aloha, Kitty, appreciate it.
A Republican Senator Tom Tillis. Senator, thanks so much for joining us on this Sunday morning. Let's talk about Iran and this potential memorandum of understanding with Iran. Your colleague, Senate Armed Services Committee Chairman Roger Wicker said, quote, the rumored 60-day ceasefire with the belief that Iran will ever engage in...
Let's see. Plug Toss doesn't have to be socialist. There's worker-owned companies as well. There's worker co-ops. Look up to, and that's why I say I prefer a mix of companies. Thank you, Plug Toss. I appreciate you for being here, bro. And that's why I think I support more of a mixed economy, because it provides an opportunity for both to thrive. Like if you want to build a co-op, if you want to build like your own type of situation where everybody, where the worker owns, you know, their product, then do that. But I think in a strictly capitalist or a strictly socialist society, it doesn't allow for that leeway to be there.
In good faith would be a disaster, unquote. I know that the details are vague at this point, but from what you've heard about this deal, would you support it?
It doesn't make sense to me. I'm not too far away from where Pompeo is, to be honest with you, and I support what Chairman Wicker says. Look, we were told about 11 weeks ago by Hegseth and the Department of Defense that they had obliterated Iran's defenses, and it was just a matter of time before we had the nuclear material. Now we're talking about a posture where we may accept the nuclear material remaining in Iran. How does that make sense at all? Also, a 60-day ceasefire and expecting that they're going to clear...
Don't tell me that Trump out here he's really going to allow this nuclear material to stay in Iran after we went to war over the nuclear material. Why did we go to war? Well, I know, but I don't.
The Strait of
I don't want to get canceled.
Hormuz before the terms of the deal are established also seems questionable to me. There are a lot of things that need to be explained, and as I've said before, any agreement with Iran that isn't subject to ratification by Congress is I think, going to be doomed to fail, just like the agreement we're trying to replace, which was the failed agreement by Obama.
It is unclear as of now that the Trump administration is going to be able to get a...
There was no failed agreement by Obama. The agreement with Obama was the Iran nuclear deal, and Iran never went above the threshold that was agreed to in that deal. Don't let these Republicans lie to you and try to feed y'all this mess that Democrats was worse than Trump in this situation. Trump was very bad in the whole Iran situation and still is doing fucked up stuff. Like we're in this war for no reason. Like we're about to agree to this deal, hopefully open up the strait and get gas prices down, hopefully, but they still have nuclear material. They still have the same nuclear material that we started this war with. I don't know what goal is achieved. Like the Iran Ayatollah is still in control.
A better deal than Obama got without even having to fire a shot. You just mentioned Secretary Hegseth. Do you think the president has been advised well by Secretary Hegseth on this war?
No, I actually, if you take a look at the assessment that Hegseth gave, at the end of the day, regardless of who collected the information, Hegseth owns it by being Secretary of Defense. When you tell the president that you have obliterated Iran and you're in a position...
No, don't try and put this on Hegseth. Trump, at the end of the day, is the commander-in-chief. The buck stops with him. In any other situation, any other Democratic president, y'all will be blaming the president, not the Secretary of War. This is why are we treating a grown ass president with baby hands? Like, why? He literally has baby hands, by the way.
To pretty much dictate terms. And now you see what we have. When you see Hegseth pull back on operations in Poland, when Ukraine, when Russia is raping, killing, murdering, torturing countless people in Ukraine, when you see these mistakes made by...
Oh yeah, let me drop the Discord link, and that is a good idea. If anybody wants to jump in here and debate me, please join the Discord. We got one of those too. Let me get all this good stuff popping eventually. Don't mind me. There we go. Discord link in chat. Hopefully everybody sees that.
Hegseth, I think with all these mistakes in total, it's beginning to make Kristi Noem look like a five-star recruit.
So let's turn to what happened a few days ago. You and some of your Republican Senate colleagues had a heated meeting Thursday with Acting Attorney General Todd Blanche. This was over the Justice Department's so-called anti-weaponization fund. Cruz has since described the meeting as, quote, fireworks at an epic level and, quote, one of the roughest meetings he's ever seen in his entire Senate tenure. Tell us about the meeting.
Well, look, I've been in a lot tougher meetings than this one. And the other thing is, people were not mad at Todd Blanche. They were mad at this bogus agreement, the 1776 agreement, that he had very little to do with. But as I said earlier, I stand by it. It's stupid on stilts. Look, you're talking about people who assaulted Capitol police officers on January the 6th, were then convicted. Many of them pled guilty, or they were convicted by a jury of their peers. They could be eligible for this. Look, if you're talking about a fund that helps a man who was arrested and lawfare used against him at a school board meeting and was found innocent, that's fine. Help them out, pay them back. In fact, I think that they should seek redress through the agency that brought the lawsuit. But this is just, it's horrible politics, it's horrible timing, and Todd was there to try and explain it, or I should say the acting attorney general. It was a tumultuous lunch, but it was by no means the most tumultuous one that I've seen. But I do think that there was a very large number of people that said, look, we got to tackle affordability. We've got to have a coherent strategy in Iran. We've got to start.
Yeah, in case y'all just popping in, I seen like a lot of people just pop in over the past few seconds. The Iran war is apparently over, but we haven't accomplished anything. It's a weird situation going on internationally. We're at a war. We bombed a bunch of stuff. We killed a bunch of people, but we didn't really accomplish anything but raising the price of gas and making Americans spend more money. So, yeah, that's the current situation that we're in right now.
Start looking at Putin as a real threat to the Western world. And this is all a distraction, and some people even think it may look like self-dealing. I think whoever advised the president on this being a wise idea should not see they should not plan on coming in the office on Monday if they're working for me. It was a bad idea, and there's no way you're going to make it better in its current form.
So there's a wider context here on the January 6ers, because on Friday night, the Justice Department moved to dismiss indictments against the Oath Keepers who had faced the most serious criminal charges after January 6th. The Justice Department is also now deleting old press releases from the website about January 6 defendants, which they're calling partisan propaganda. And then, in addition to obviously all the pardons that the president gave out to January 6ers, including those who beat up cops, some of them are now saying that they're going to apply for this.
Yeah. people that actually attacked January 6ers are planning on getting millions of dollars from this slush fund, which is crazy to me. Crazy. Yeah. So I got that pulled up. I'm just making sure everybody got access to the Discord link. Let me see. I'm gonna read the chat in a minute. Let's see if I can pin this. Boom. Okay. Gotcha. Alright, appreciate the tips, plug. Still new to this shit.
This payout from the anti-weaponization fund. And I guess the broader question I have is now, is the Republican Party now the January 6th party? Is the Republican Party a pro-insurrection party?
No, I don't believe so. Now, there's a question right now. Earlier this week, I was called a rhino by the president. And I will tell you, if the Republican Party stands for standing with insurrectionists who assaulted police officers, turning a blind eye towards Putin and what he's doing in Russia, negotiating a deal.
Plaque Paul, or whatever your name is, I know what you're talking about, but that was on Fox News, the guy wearing the mask, or got caught wearing the mask. I don't know if that's true or not, but yeah, he definitely looks like that guy, but he's usually on Fox News.
That may be subpar to the Obama deal, then don't call me that Republican. Just call me a conservative. And I'm waiting for my Republicans to come back if, in fact, they think they can argue that effectively. They can't. The American people want right-of-center conservative policies that have been successfully proposed by this president, but these distractions are harmful to our chances in November, and anybody that gets in the way of my colleagues, Republican colleagues, getting reelected are a problem.
Does Congress have the authority to stop this $1.776 billion anti-weaponization fund?
Who has all the money? Who has all the money? As far as who exactly? Like, if you're asking who has all the money right now, it's Trump. And Trump has increased his, he's went up to about $3 billion over the past few months. Insane. Like, there's no other president that has increased his wealth more over the first couple years than Trump.
I think that it wouldn't surprise me if we get back to reconciliation, and I believe that we should, because the underlying bill funding Homeland Security, because the Democrats have refused to even shut down our government, we've got to get back to it. But I wouldn't at all doubt that there will be amendments to rescind the agreement and to defund it, to do whatever they can. And it's a shame, because what Todd Blanche, the acting attorney general, was coming to the lunch for was describing the anti-fraud funding that they wanted, that there's no way that we're going to be in a position to fund $1.5 billion for an anti-fraud division when we've got this bogus 1776, I called it a payout pot for punks. That you just can't have those two equivalent numbers at the same time. It makes...
Yeah, Trump is definitely getting him out the Republican Party. Next time he's running for office, Trump is putting all the money behind getting this guy out. Like, he is doing all the wrong things.
No sense. So it's politically tone deaf. Whoever did it should be fired. Let's figure out a way to help people who are victims of warfare, but not people who are convicted by a jury of their peers or pled guilty to assaulting a police officer. Please.
Okay, first of all, whoever that guy is, the judge guy, I refuse to play. I refuse to pay for premium YouTube. I refuse. And there are several different reasons behind that, but yeah, me and YouTube got a little beef going on behind that.
I wonder, you mentioned how the president was attacking you as a rhino. In addition, of course, the president pushed to defeat Senator Bill Cassidy in his Republican primary in Louisiana not long ago. And now the president's endorsing the challenger, the ethically challenged Ken Paxton, in his race against incumbent Republican Senator John Cornyn. And there's a chance that Cornyn is going to lose his primary on Tuesday. Is there going to be pushback, not just from you, but from Kennedy? I mean, sorry, not Kennedy, from Cassidy and Cornyn, Senator McConnell, when it comes to all sorts of things?
Oh, he's not running for re-election. I did not know that. So yeah, that's something that is very common for a lot of Republican politicians, especially when they announce that they're not running again. They will come out and start speaking out against a lot of Trump's policies and what he does. But it's only after they announce that they're not running, or it's after they announce that they're retiring. It's not like while they're seeking aspirations for other offices. Like, this goes to tell you what kind of backbone the Republican Party has, that they completely flip the script every time that they leave the party. They completely, you know, take off the mask, as a lot of people in chat were saying. They take off the mask and just speaking real shit.
Ballroom, the anti-weaponization fund, anything else?
Well, number one, I hate that Bill Cassidy lost. He's a great American, great senator, and I still look forward to working with him through the remaining tenure, our tenure here in the U.S. Senate. Cornyn, the same thing. And to call Paxton ethically challenged is to call Jeffrey Dahmer suffering from an eating disorder. This guy is an empty suit and will do us no service by being in the U.S. Congress. I hope that Texans realize how tough John Cornyn is, how pro-Second Amendment he is, how pro-limited government he is, how pro-America First he is. And when they go to the polls on Tuesday, I hope that they know that they've got a great American who deserves re-election, and the other guy is going to be nothing but an anchor on our conference for as long as he's in the U.S. Senate.
Who's ever going to win is who Trump wants to win. That's clear as day. I mean, until midterms come around. Once it's, you know, a head-up competition against Democrats or Republicans, the Democrats are going to win this midterms. It's looking better and better for the Democratic Party. I don't identify as a registered Democrat, but I am very left-leaning. And, yeah, I think it's a good sign that the Democratic Party is looking to make a comeback. And hopefully they won't drop the ball and give us something like another Joe Biden or some shit.
And last question, though, is there going to be something of a you only live once, YOLO caucus of Republicans on their way out the door that President Trump has helped pressure and instigate?
It's, you know what I try to tell everybody, folks, if you're not running for re-election, then that one filter that you need to make sure your words are measured so that the Democrats can't use it against you and maybe some Republicans, you've just got to have that extra filter. And I'm telling you, it's great not having it so that you can get the same point across, but now you can use unambiguous words. And I'm being unambiguous on Paxton. He is a failure. He doesn't deserve to be in the U.S. Senate. And John Cornyn is one of the most powerful, one of the most influential, one of the most patriotic members I've had the privilege to serve with over the last 11 years.
All right, Senator Tom Tillis, YOLO with the bolo. Thanks for joining us. We appreciate it.
But yeah, man, I am about to wrap this stream up. You guys can catch me on the flip side. I really want to set up some debates with some Republicans or somebody that thinks differently on issues than I do. That would be very helpful and very entertaining for my following that I look to grow over the next few months. So if anybody out there is familiar with any conservative group, conservative you know, Discord, conservative Reddit, any of that, please share my content with them. Please let them know that I'm on the lookout for any decent conservative debaters that's willing to have a real conversation and that's willing to at least challenge, have a debate of real ideas, not, you know, get on a live stream and scream at each other and scream talking points with no thought behind it, no real challenging of ideas. Like I'm used to debates being more like a chess match, and it just seems like there's some type of degradation of the online debate space, and a lot of it has to do with, you know, just anybody and everybody feels like they have the ability to do this stuff. I'm still learning myself. I'm humble. Look, I have no problem telling people that I'm still learning, and I'm still learning how to, you know, talk on this live space, talk, you know, publicly and make videos and edit and all this good stuff. And right now, I'm just trying to learn how to, you know, just get out here and debate other people, but I don't want to debate people that just gets on this stuff and just screens random stuff that they see on the tabloid somewhere that they didn't even do any type of research behind. That's a waste of my time. Like, I'm still a grown ass adult. I still have adult things to do. I still have a day job, and I'm not finna get on here and just have a discussion or, you know, spend my time trying to have a discussion with somebody that's not really trying to have a discussion. I'm not finna do that. But yeah, I digress. I hope y'all enjoyed this stream. I just wanted to get a few things across because I started that stream with that gentleman, Euro and Travel. But I ended it very quickly because he had no type of sense. He showed his IQ. And yeah, I'm just hoping to get myself out there and hopefully have some actual decent conservative-minded people challenge me to a debate and not just be keyboard warriors. But yeah, I hope y'all enjoyed it, and I'll see y'all next time.